kayo po ay nanonood ng kauna-unahan at kaisa-isang locally produced daily talk show na tungkol at para sa ating mga Pilipino. Ito po ang Kababayan LA, where today we are going to talk about something very special. They say no man is an island, and so we always try to give off ourselves to others, whether sharing our time, our talent, and our treasure. And today on the show, we talk about something big. When you talk about sharing your life, I think one of the bigger organizations out there that are encouraging people to share their lives with the others who need it is the Peace Corps. And we're going to be talking about that today on Kababayan LA. Guess what? We have non-Filipino guests today because they have been to the Philippines, and they're going to be talking about their experiences with us today on the show. We'll start off with Parker Borg. Hello and welcome to Kababayan
Thank you very
LA.
much. Nice
Parker
to be here.
has been a diplomat for 30 years, lived in Washington, D.C., but before that, he was in the Philippines. He was a Peace Corps volunteer from 1961
to 1963.
To 1963. 3 years. Parker, tell me, how did you first start out to become a Peace Corps volunteer?
When I was graduating from college, I wanted to do something exciting. I was inspired by what John F. Kennedy was saying about ask not what you can do for your country. And I looked into the Peace Corps, and I decided that that was something I wanted to do, and I had the good fortune of being selected to go to the Philippines.
Exciting is usually equal to adventurous or adventure, but then it's not normally synonymous to safe. So you were taking a risk going to a foreign land. Before then, what did you know about the Philippines before you went?
I knew what I'd studied in college. I knew that it had been connected to the United States for some 50 years. It was independent. It had the war against the Japanese had been very brutal. The Hucks had been a serious threat to the country for many years, but that now things were peaceful. So I never thought of it as being a threat. So
when you went there, what was the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge was to figure out what was I going to do now that I got here.
Well, before you go, we did a short piece on the Peace Corps not too long ago, and I know that there are different areas with which you can volunteer and share your time. It included teaching, if you can teach, or you can be involved in agriculture or in health. What was your major job as a Peace Corps volunteer?
It was called an education aide. That meant I worked with students and worked with teachers on trying to improve English and science in the Philippines.
And what was your impression of the Philippines after you got there? At that time, it is different now, obviously.
It's a very different country now. Much has changed in 50 years, but the village where I was living was a beautiful place. The name of it was Paracali in Camarines Norte. And I taught in a place called Jose Panganiban, which was down the road a bit. And I enjoyed both places very much.
At that time, the language of instruction was English?
Or it was English. It was in Tagalog through 3rd grade, and then English after 3rd grade. That changed subsequently, but we were getting the students ready so that they could communicate in English for their classes.
Did you have to learn Tagalog?
I learned some Tagalog, and we spoke Tagalog in the villages where I was working, which was good.
And you can still speak Tagalog now?
I can still say magandang humaga, saan ka pupunta.
Yes, it's been years since then, right?
It's been many years.
And what was the most fulfilling thing about being a Peace Corps volunteer? After 3 years, what did you think of the whole experience?
I learned a lot about people, about other cultures, and I learned a lot about myself and what I could do and what I couldn't do.
What did you learn about yourself?
I learned that even though I didn't know very much about teaching, that if I applied myself, I could learn to be a teacher. I could entertain the students, keep their attention.
And I'm thinking that was a selfless thing that you did. And you mentioned earlier it was just because you heeded Kennedy's call, saying, ask not what you can do for your country, but what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. At that time, going to the Philippines, how did it connect to what you can do for your country?
Well,
because your country is America.
No, but America was very interested in creating a different image of the United States around the world, was interested in providing technology to other countries. And the technology in this case was improving the quality of English that was spoken in the country, which is what the government of the Philippines wanted.
What was the requirement then of people who wanted to volunteer?
At that point, for the Philippine project, we all had to be college graduates. And we were supposed to know something about teaching. Not all of us did. Other projects have other qualifications that you don't even need to be a college graduate to go into some of the programs. For example, the agricultural programs, if you've had a lot of experience on a farm, or if you're a nurse and have nursing experience, which does require some education also, but you don't need a 4-year degree in order to do it.
They say, you know, time is the most precious gift that we can give anyone, because we can make, we give money, we can make more money, but we can't make more time. And so that was time spent in the Philippines, 3 years, that you can never get back.
That's right, but I probably gained more by my time in the Philippines than I gave. I learned so much more. I hope that some people may have learned as much as I did.
And the best thing about volunteering is?
The best thing about volunteering is you have a sense of having done something greater than yourself.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. We hope to talk to you again. We'll be back for more, this time meeting more Peace Corps volunteers when we return on Kababayan LA. Don't go away.